Well, all right, everybody, good evening and welcome to the May meeting of the virtual chapter right here online, coming to you live from all over the United Snakes and perhaps even beyond that. So it's good to see y'all. I am here, Michael Watson, as you know, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Karen Hand. Say hello, Karen.
Hey there, how are you? Good to see all of you here tonight.
And we want to let you know that you can get credit for actually hanging out here with us if you are a member of IACT or IMDHA or a number of friendly hypnosis organizations. Actually, just let them know that you spent an hour and a half with us this evening, and they will give you an hour and a half worth of CEUs. We got some announcements. We got some big stuff coming up. Karen, are you getting excited as I am?
I am getting very excited. IACT IMDHA 1 week away. Just over a week away.
May 21st to the 23rd is the weekend of the IACT IMDHA Hypno Expo 2021, live online, brought to you by a whole host of wonderful people. We have 50 presenters, and actually 52, I believe, and all kinds of good stuff going on, including, check this out, we have expanded since last year. We're not just going to have our regular presenters, but we do have a slew of pre and post conference programs as well. I'm going to be offering the master trainer training for 3 days prior to the weekend and 2 days after the weekend, which means I'm going to be online for 8 days. that would be rather exciting. And Karen Hand and Ashley Caputo are going to be doing a post
on May 24th, yeah, pandemic problem solving, the help out protocol. So we're getting a lot of calls about this lately. This is a good one to know some various techniques to deal with losing taste and smell and insomnia and brain fog and fatigue and some of the other things, especially that COVID long haulers are complaining about.
Yeah, and for those of you who, by the way, for those of you who have been to the conference before and you know what it's like when it's live, we're really going to try to reproduce as much of that as we can this year. We're going to have our Friday night social hour. We're going to have the Singing Bowls concert on Friday night as well. And on Saturday evening, we're going to have our awards banquet sans food. So, order your own. You get exactly what you want instead of that steam table crap anyway.
That's exactly right. And entertainment.
Swami Biyandananda. If you don't know this guy, he's absolutely wonderful. A throwback from the 60s, and what a great fellow. I remember him at some hypnosis conferences in California years ago, and it's just lovely to see him again, and I know he's still around. So that is going to be really exciting. I have one other thing to mention, and then I don't know, Karen, you might have an announcement or two. I want to mention that I'm doing an NLP training. And this one is largely online. In fact, it's all online, except basically there are 3 live sessions online that are 4 hours each at the beginning and in the middle and at the end. And then spread out through all of that, there are 32 hours worth of pre-recorded video from a live NLP training, and then a couple of study groups and stuff as well associated with that. If you're interested in, I've only got, and honest to God, I'm not trying to coerce you here, but I've only got like 2 seats left in it. We wanted to limit it to 15 people. If you're interested, send me an email, flhypno@outlook.com, and I'll send you the details, and then you can see if it's for you. And you got anything, Karen?
Well, I have a certification coming up, but it's not until later in the year because I took a little time off from training to write my next book, which is this close to being finished. My goal is to have it completed by conference time, by IACT time. So I'm proofreading it even as, well, not as we speak, but I started proofreading today. So it's that close.
Coming soon to a community near you. We will look forward to it. What's the name of your book, Eric?
The working title is Hypnotic Trance Dance for Positive Change. That's the working title. It may change a little bit, but trance dance or hypnotic trance dance is going to be what it's about. It's all about the dance that we do as we're working with our clients.
Lovely. And the only other announcement I have is just to mention that next month here at the virtual chapter on June 8th, our guest is going to be Lori Hammond, and we're going to be talking about the imposter syndrome. So the monster imposter, I think something like that she calls it. And we're really looking forward to that. So there we are.
And coming up tonight, we're going to be talking to Suzy Day about Harley's heart, hypnosis, how that all works together. We're going to find out. But first, we're going to get something very special from our very own Michael Watson.
I love it. She has no idea what I'm going to say, but she's so sweet that she calls it something very special. But I just wanted to share this, and I think it's one of the cool things about this group. We're starting to do these little features and to have an opportunity to sort of build community. So I'd like you to think of this short thing that I'm going to do here as a conversation. Really, I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. But I have been tasked, because I'm doing the certified master trainer training, I have been tasked with making adjustments and changes to the student manual for hypnotherapy, and I'll tell you what, I am absolutely amazed with the amount of frustration that I have found in that process, only because I realized I had a bunch of text that was already there. In fact, it was sort of gifted us when we first put this manual together, and it was already there. And I was looking through it, and I thought this is not right, or I don't think this is, this isn't what we want to say, and this isn't how I think about hypnosis, and this isn't how I think about hypnosis. And I realized just the complexity of the models, the various models that we have. I come from the world of NLP, after all, so modeling is something that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And we have a model for hypnosis. We have a model about how it is that we think about consciousness, how we think about the mind, and how we think about how change occurs. And we, apply that model in order to get the results that we get. And models keep changing, but a model is a metaphor. A model is a map. It is not the thing that it represents. It's a model, right? And one of the things that I noticed, and this is kind of the danger of fundamentalism actually, is that we start to believe in our models. In fact, we start to believe in our models to such a degree that we forget that they're models, and we believe that they are the correct description of the thing, in fact, that they are the thing. And so people will say, this is what hypnosis is. And by the way, it's the question, what is hypnosis? That's got me hung up. I really recognize something as fundamental as that. There are a million ways that people look at that. But what happens is we get this idea that our model is the right one and the other ones are wrong or bad, and we've got to get rid of them. And we start arguing with people that use the other models, which happens a lot on Facebook. Somebody says, why are hypnotists still doing this, or still doing that, or still doing this? It's like, well, because it used to work.
And for them, it still does, by the way, or they wouldn't still be using it.
Isn't that right? Isn't that right? So, but what happens is, as time goes on, we start to turn our craft, and that's what I think that this is, right? We start to turn our craft into a technology. I have as my screensaver, and every once in a while people have seen it on here, a Winchester Cathedral, and the working in that cathedral, the woodwork and in the stone and all of that stuff is something that was done by skilled craftsmen in the 11th century. And it's impossible to replicate today, because we don't have craftsmen. We have technicians who run machines, that do things in a certain way. And that craft part of it seems to get lost. So we turn our craft into a technology. And then, by the way, we get rigid with our language. By the way, a big debate going on recently. Is there such a thing as a subconscious mind? Oh, no, you mean the unconscious mind, but there still isn't such a thing. But maybe there, and it's like, man. So
the truth is that both exist. Don't you know the truth?
Well, yeah. Or neither, in the case of my relatives, so yeah, so we get really rigid with our language, and we're completely lost. We're missing the point entirely when we get lost in that and forget about this business of change, that we're involved in. We get rigid with our language, and then we get rigid with we start developing techniques. Here's the techniques, and you got to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I remember this quote from Billie Holiday that always resonates when I think about this. Billie Holiday said, "I never sing the same song the same way twice. If you do that, it's close order drill, but it isn't music." I think that there's something like that about the way that we work with clients. I don't know. I think I'm already about to start rambling, and I don't want to do that. I think here's the point that I'd really like to make, is that each of us as craftspersons brings something unique to the table when we do our work with hypnosis. Some people are saying, well, why do you do regression to cause? You shouldn't do regression to cause. And I'm like, well, regression to cause used to work. And so, it still works. Well, the neuroscience says that. And I'm like, and it still works. So it seems that there's this thing, and I certainly don't want to present, God knows, especially today, I don't want to present myself as anti-science, because I am not that. But I know that there's a difference between academics and the world of practice. And every once in a while, the academics who have spent a lot of time in laboratories, but very little time with clients, start saying, well, but those stories that you're telling, that's just all, anecdotal. Well, the funny thing is, craftsmen who have apprenticed to somebody who has a lot of great stories to tell and anecdotes to share really can benefit and learn from those other people's actual experience in the field. So I'm in favor of anecdotal learning as well, and of balancing these two things. So here's the thing that I want to point out. As individuals, we each bring our own nuance, our own way, our own personality. There is something about what you do that makes you effective. And it isn't because you do this technique or that technique or that technique. It's because Suzy does something that is Suzy, and Karen does something that is Karen, and Sylvia does a Sylvia thing that are unique to them, and that enable them to connect to and relate to the people that are drawn to them, for them to do the work. So it seems to me that as we get a little too rigid, as we get a little too technical, what happens is we end up destroying that ability to actually bring our own spirit, our own essence into the work. And I just want to cap this off by saying, if you're doing it the right way, if you're doing the expected thing, then you're ripping us all off, because you are not contributing to the field your own uniqueness. And so I'm not really interested in people being right. I studied comparative religions when I was in college, not because I was trying to find out what was the right religion, but because I was interested in all the many different ways that people could look at and explore a theme. And in the same way, our descriptions about hypnosis are merely descriptions. None of them are right. They're perspectives from a particular set of sightlines that enable us to see and think about it the way that we do. And so when somebody tells you something that you go, gosh, that's not how I do it, I think what we need to challenge ourselves to do is to go, that's interesting. Tell me more. I'm curious. So there's my sermon for the day. And I appreciate you listening to me, because it really was something that I really wanted to get off of my chest. So thanks a lot. So here's what I want to know as we get ready to talk to our guest tonight is, and because I know that she brings some nuances of her own, and there's some stuff that she's going to talk to us about, I think, that is unique to her as a person. So I'm just wanting you all to think about it. And if anybody's got anything to share, are you aware of what it is that you bring that makes the work that you do with your clients different than the work that somebody else does with theirs? What do you got? And you could open your microphones and say something if you'd like to. And it may be that I'm going to just get a stunned silence back because I put such a direct question out to you. But I want you to know that each of us that has gotten into this field because we saw in it the potential for change in the world, you've all got something special. You've all got something wonderful. And what a great opportunity it is for us to be able to get together and to share all of that. Okay. So thank you. So talk amongst yourselves, or I could turn it over to Karen, because Karen, I would love for you to introduce our guest and let us know what's happening.
And I'm just about to do that. I just want to say, I think we were a little ripped off because we got the liturgy without all of the ritual going in. We didn't have to genuflect. We didn't have to do the holy water. But we did get the liturgy. Thank you very much. And it was right. I know that you weren't a Catholic priest, but it's right on Catholic schedule. You kept it under 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
Which was kind of the rule when I went to mass in my younger days, in my past life when I went to mass. So yes, thank you, Michael. I do think, first of all, even though I didn't know exactly what you were going to say, I did know it was going to be special. Because I do know, as we all know, you wouldn't bring anything to us that you didn't think was special. And if you think it's special, it's always pretty special. So thank you very much.
Well, thank
You're
you.
appreciated. We appreciate you a lot. So let's get to Suzy, because this is fascinating. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about Suzy Day. She's aligned with her purpose to ignite and inspire. Some of these are Suzy's words, but you know what? If I'd have written them, I'd have written them the same ones. Suzy's a clinical and spiritual hypnotherapist, master hypnotic coach, transformational life coach, published author, public speaker, founder of Daylight Awakenings Hypnotherapy in Oregon, creator and facilitator of workshops, including masterminds on business and personal development as an entrepreneur. Okay, that's all the science stuff. In her free time, Suzy enjoys riding her Harley on twisty mountain roads, finding creative inspiration and sacred slices of goodness in everyday places, connecting with friends and running wildly amok with her favorite granddaughter, a dragon named Stella. How cool is that? Now, how in the world do you marry Harley, hypnosis, and heart? And how does it all blend together? Lots of questions, but I got to know first, which came first, Harley or hypnosis?
We need you.
Harley did.
Harley came first.
Yeah.
And how did Harley take you to hypnosis?
Yeah, it was Harley that led me there. Exactly. Because I never, ever said when I was a kid, when I want to grow up, I want to be a hypnotherapist, ever. I never said it as an adult either. But my husband and I had decided that we wanted to travel the road, and we didn't want to be chained. Yeah, Sylvia's got a stop. We wanted to ride the bikes and just ride the bikes because that's what we love. We couldn't think of a reason not to, and we wound up sold the home, quit the jobs, left Washington State, which we will never, ever regret. And I hope no one's here from Washington, but cloudy and rainy is beyond what I need in my life anymore. We wound up in Arizona visiting family, and then one thing led to another. And I wound up investigating a program at a college for, I had a girlfriend tell me I should go get certified as a life coach. And I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world. This is a while back, who needs a coach in how to live? Because all I could equate it with was my second base coach when I used to play ball. I know how to run the bases. I don't need a coach. And she was like, no, you little bonehead. It's what you do naturally, and there's careers in it, and you can get paid for it. And she got my attention. So I went to the college and I was investigating what they had to offer. And then I decided that I was really interested in the mind body wellness program. And had my husband and I not decided that we would follow our passion and stay on the bikes as long as we could and as far as we could and as often as we could, then I never would have found my way to Arizona and to this college and to hypnotherapy. And I really wasn't even interested in it then. I was just trying to fill out my program, and they asked me if I wanted to, how did I want to do that with, was I interested in holistic nutrition? And I was like, God, no. I had 3 kids. I was an at-home mom for a long time. I used to grind my wheat berries to make my bread. And no, I'm done with all that holistic stuff. Give me some greasy French fries and a Pepsi. I don't want to do that. And then they asked if I wanted to do, I forget what it was. And then they, kept going down the line, and they were like, how about hypnotherapy? And I went, all right, whatever. And then the very first time, this is what Michael spoke of when I walked into hypnotherapy, my 101, I saw the potential for the change that I could contribute to the world. And it just blew the hinges off every door that I ever had in my mind. And it would have taken a freight train to stop me. And I've gone nonstop ever since. It was like hypnotherapy was waiting for me to get still long enough for the clouds to crack open and the blessings to be bestowed. It was one of those, I just couldn't believe the magic that could be worked. So that's how my Harley led to hypnosis. long kind of version.
And when did you bring in the heart?
I don't know how to not be with heart. I lead with my heart. I see with my heart. I feel with my heart. So everybody who comes through my door, whether they recognize it, whether they receive it or not, is with my heart. So my heart represents my presence, which I think is really important in session, is presence. So that's why the heart comes into the pillar, actually, of the three: Harley, hypnosis, and heart. And, you know, think about it metaphorically. Harley to me is presence. Even with the throttle pulled in and I'm in idle or neutral, you know that bike is there. There's a presence there, and it can be loud. Like I have found, like I've started thinking about this metaphorically, how my practice is demonstrative or representative of the Harley, and the Harley is representative and demonstrative of my life, is living out loud, being out loud, or, you know, you can have the gears disengaged and you're following or leading or coasting or just enjoying. So it kind of represents presence and the power of presence. And my focus with all my clients is empowerment. I want them to, you know, to come in, get what they need, bounce in, instead of that searchlight that they've always got projected outwards, you know, to switch it around and shine it on themselves so that they can recognize the power that they already possess, so that it can become bright. And then I want them out in the world, because then again, this also represents the potential of change in the world. When we've got people out there functioning at their highest capacity and their biggest, boldest, bravest them, then that increases the change, the potential for change in our world. So that's where heart comes into play, always leading with my heart, because, you know, the power of something if you've existed without it before. I mean, it was really profound to me how important it is to lead with the heart and to be with the heart. So I don't know any other way.
Michael, wasn't that a beautiful answer to your question?
It was. It absolutely was. You know, I got to tell you, Suzy, I was teaching a hypnosis class like in Winter Park, Colorado, probably maybe about 20 years ago. And it was the week after Sturgis. And so what seems to happen is all of these bikers show up in Winter Park, and they're staying at this various ski resorts. It's summertime, you know, it's like August or whatever, in the fall. So they're all staying there, and I'm teaching embedded commands and indirect hypnotic language in a classroom. And outside the window, there is, you know, and it was really kind of cool because my students were saying things like, "We hardly noticed the sound." Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Suzy, biking to me at least, and I'm not a biker, but I watched Easy Rider, Get Your Motor Run, you know, and
That counts.
the thing that it does though is it represents real aliveness to me.
Oh yes.
This is a community that is that, and hopefully, you know, that's kind of what it is we're trying to get into the world, is to get some of these people that are wandering around half dead to really have full and rich lives. So I can see how that connects.
Yes. You know, and actually my bike is light cherry candy red, and I call it my little red church pew, because to me there's an added dimension to it, and it's not just going from bar to bar to bar. And that's why we've been through Sturgis. We've never been to that mayhem, because we're the ones that are out riding when everybody else is hanging out in the bar. But the added dimension of riding for me is that it's a spiritual experience for me. So that, and my life to me is spiritual. There's spirituality in everything, and it's not always reverent. It doesn't need to be reverent. And so there's an even further dimension to that aspect, to that metaphor that that writing brings, and it is a front and center presence. It's a, let me think of the right word, it'll come. It's an integration. It's a merging with the present moment. You can't be any place else other than in the present moment when you're writing. And surrounding nature. We ride the back road, so we're not on the freeway. So we're in the mountains and the trees and the animals and the plants and the smells. I mean, as an integral part of nature, I'm integrated in nature when we ride too, and inspirations just pour in too. So there's a lot of dimensions to that, and it's been so fun kind of to explore the metaphors and how there's an interactive ambiance. There's a fluidity at play all the time, and it's not this or that, it's always a this and a that, which is fun too.
It's an interesting view to bring to it. Do you market it that way in any way, the Harley hypnotist? The reason I ask, Suzy, is because I see your background, right? Which everything I'm seeing and what I know of you is that spiritual side. And the juxtaposition of spiritual and Harley mama. I mean, I see Katie Seagal, right? In the Anarchist or whatever. and so that juxtaposition is very interesting to me. Do people come to you with that spirituality in mind? In other words, do you market, hey, I'm the Harley hypnotist, or that doesn't play into it at all? That's just personal to you.
Right, not in terms of marketing. It's on my website because I think it adds a dimension of human to me, rather than, like somebody who's got boots on and dirty jeans and bugs in her teeth. I mean, I'm not just somebody who has the answer to every question. Or
you're not doing sessions that way, right?
What's that?
You're not doing sessions that way, right? Jeans on and bugs in your teeth. I'm just trying to pick my imagination,
Wouldn't that be fun?
On the road you can. In Sturgis you could, of course.
Right? The street corner, a little sign.
Drive-by hypnosis. I kind of like it.
Oh, that's fabulous, right? That's funny. The position when someone rides a passenger on the back, it's known as riding bitch, right? Mm-hmm. And I just had something. What did you say a minute ago? Because I was thinking riding on the back with somebody and having earphones on and doing a hypnosis session while somebody is driving. I just can't. It just like it was bitch on hypno bitch or something. I forget what it was. But I don't ride that position anymore.
But you don't keep it a secret. I mean, that is one of the things that sets you apart.
Right. I don't keep it a secret. And you know what? It's drawn people in, and I forget it's even on the website at all. And it's drawn people in. I've had people say, I figured if you ride a Harley, that you're one of those down to earth people. Because, and it's true. And maybe that's something I should consider, is marketing that more, because I feel as if, personally, I'm the one who can, this is one of my strengths, one of my gifts, is I can keep my boots on the ground and my head and heart are in the stars. I can do both, and hold space for someone wherever they are in between any of that. So that might be something that, is worthy of considering. But I don't hide it, but I don't amplify it. But that's exactly what brought me to this craft, this healing art, is that we didn't want to live our life on the sidelines, and we wanted to pursue our passion, which is, why wait until you're 65 and then begin to live. We were like, what's funny is it was my idea. We came back from a 2-week vacation. This is before I bought my bike. And I'd been on the back of his, and I said, oh, it's horrible when you pull into the driveway and you've been on the road for 2 weeks. And I said, why don't we do this all the time? And I looked behind me and I said, I don't have an anchor behind me on my ass. Do you have an anchor tied to your ass? And he was like, no. And I said, let's go. So we did everything we could, starting to get ready and shift our life to that direction. And it took a couple of years because of kids' ages and what have you, and, figure out the dynamics. But, I can't imagine. It's something that I'm really passionate about because it touches every dimension within me. And that gives me an opportunity to stand fully in my presence and power and touch every dimension of my clients when they come in to work with me.
I think you discovered a little secret too, that some of us miss out on, and that is blending the personal with the business. You make room, you make time, you build out time to do your passion, your writing, to get away from the business a little bit.
Yes, yes. Every summer we spend a month sabbatical on the road, and that's the least that we've spent. The very first time we were on the road for 4 months on the bikes. But now consistently every single summer we take off a month, and I wind down my practice so that nobody's left hanging, and any loose ends I need to tie up, I do at the beginning. Like even if it transfers over into when I'm on the road, I do it at the very beginning so that that door is closed and I'm engaged in that experience of that break and that reconnection and restoration. Yeah, definitely.
Nice. The phrase that you used that I think was really good about this, you said your feet on the ground and your head and your heart in the stars. What a lovely way to say it. And I'm wondering, I don't know exactly what I'm asking, so I'm about to ask an ambiguous question. I wonder if you could give us some clue about how one does that. You started out by talking about leading. The phrase that you used earlier was leading with the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it's a beautiful phrase, but it's also really sort of fluffy. So maybe you can tell us how that happens. How do you get there?
How do you get there? How do you lead with your heart as opposed to trying to analyze? Maybe you have to be a right brain person to have a heart. I don't know. I don't know how not to. It's like, it's an ability to recognize the good in people. Maybe I think you lead with your heart, Michael. I would imagine that most of us do.
Yeah, well, I think I do, but I'm just kind of looking for the descriptions. I love the way people talk about these things. It's like, for example, when you sit down with a client, is there some sort of a shift that you make that moves you into that moment? And how does that happen? What's that like for you?
I make that shift before they walk through the door, and then it deepens the minute that they walk through the door. So I shift, I say a little prayer and a blessing, connecting with my heart before they even come through the door, that I serve their highest and greatest good. And that whatever brilliant, benevolent source is guiding me connects with whatever brilliant, benevolent source is guiding them, so that we work in conjunction for whatever it is that they need. And I serve them in their highest capacity. And then when they walk through the door, I don't know if there's a magic switch that shifted on or what, but the rest of the world disappears. And I'm locked into them 150 kabillion%. Listening and paying attention and receiving. I can see you coming at me, Karen.
It sounds like you're borrowing that strategy from being on the road, because you're present on the bike and you bring that same presence to being with your client. It's borrowing a benefit.
Right. Yes. Borrowing a benefit. Yes.
And your client sits down and you say, now close your eyes and 1, 2. Harley induction.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we started out talking about what is hypnosis. I mean, that was kind of one of the things we were bantering about. Right? What is spiritual hypnosis?
Oh, it's an umbrella term that I use for past life regression, between life experiences, meeting guides, going on spiritual journeys. It's that nature of the business, that nature of the hypnotic experience, rather than anxiety, or it's rather than everyday movement. It's not movement, but experiences. But it's a spiritual that can blend in with the everyday, so that their everyday life is enhanced. The quality of it is enhanced and benefits by it, rather than just a drive-by. I wonder if I was Cleopatra, that kind of deal. To harvest the benefits of a spiritual experience in hypnosis to apply to their present day life. Does that explain it to you?
I've got a question about that. If you're talking about past life, you're talking about these things, that if somebody doesn't believe in that, or, I mean, is that what you do every day with every client, or how do you know to go there?
Generally, they will ask. I don't, they tell me where they come in, and I tell them I got a big bag of tricks and tools and techniques. I'm going to reach in and pull out the perfect 1 or 20 for them. Depends on what we're doing. So they'll come, I'll get calls and they'll say, I'd love to do a past life regression. And that's what I schedule their time for. I'm finding really interesting now, and it's just been since last year, clients are coming in, and this is to give you a sense of their general energetic background. So imagine a blue collar worker, his construction boots are on, his shirt's dirty because he's worked hard all day long, but he's at this point in his life and he's been married for a while now. And he's trying to figure out, does he want to do the second half of his life experience under these same conditions? Because he's really not too happy, and he's really not too happy with work and this and that and the other. And COVID has given everybody an opportunity to re-examine priorities, make adjustments, life changes, career changes, belief changes. And he comes in and he says, boy, I feel really, I'm disenchanted with my marriage of 25 years. Do you think maybe it could be past life related? Now, never in a million years would I, not really a million, but I would never have anticipated those select words to come out of the mouth of a blue collar worker. And it's happening more and more. They come in and they want to do some spiritual hypnosis as it relates to whatever challenge they're going through in their present day, Monday through Sunday life. So it's a blend, but it's never, I don't do it every day on every client by any means.
So how do you know to go there? How does that evolve?
They usually come with that in mind
Oh, they come
specifically.
specific. So you don't take in a client and you're doing regression to cause or something like that.
For spiritual hypnosis,
Right.
correct. No, they come for it. I don't push it on anybody. It tends to be kind of a dicey area to talk about if people are, I don't know what their spiritual or religious beliefs are, and I don't want to offend anyone. I'm pretty solid in mine, and I respect and honor whatever anybody else brings to the table. So I'm not going to tell them, that anxiety could be past, it's probably past life related. I never do that. But if there's a door open, of course, I'm going to meet them where they are and talk the way that they talk, of course, so that we could explore a little, because it could be, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. Just hold space for the possibilities and the potentials to surface. And if there's enough space held, if it's wide enough and big enough and with an open enough heart, then whatever is necessary or required or will help them kind of surfaces it rises to the level of recognition. So I just wait to see what it is they need and they want. They always come in with, I want to quit biting my fingernails. And really it's like they want past life regression related to some kind of issue that they're, a health issue or a liver problem or phobia or something, whatever.
I think that speaks again to what Michael was talking about. What do we bring special to the program? Because in my practice, I don't have very many requests for past life regression. I'm not saying that people don't spontaneously regress. I'm just saying those are not the clients I'm attracting, right? And that's one of the reasons I have the question for you. How do you go down that road? And the answer, that's what they asked for. Oh, well, sure. If somebody asked for it, yes, I get that. But I was curious about how somebody just walks in and you go, oh yeah, I think past life is where we ought to go.
I never say that. Yeah. Those wouldn't be words that, because if they come in and they're talking to me, I really don't know them from a hole in the ground, and I don't know their backstory, and I don't know what their beliefs are, and I never want to offend anyone. So I wait for a window to be opened. There was a client I worked with today who said that relationship that he had lost was his, let me think of the word, soulmate relationship. Now, I have my concept of what that is, but I don't know what that means to him. So I asked him, what is that to you? Because some people have an idea that those are decisions that are made pre-incarnation. And now that it's broken, I don't know what it means to him, what the implications are. So I ask more questions before even opening a door to that kind of information. But I'm finding that people are becoming even more aware of the possibilities of spiritual influences in their world, in their life now than they ever have before. I've done 2 past life regression group workshops on Zoom. I did one in March and I did one in April. And I did nothing really to advertise. I threw it on Facebook and sent out an email blast. And that's about it. And had 30 people register and had a show up rate of 67%, which is really a good rate for nothing really. There was nothing. So I'm noticing that there's more of an interest of it now, especially when a guy who you know, works on a construction site comes in and thinks that his marital troubles or challenges might be past life related. And I've had a guy come in recently talking to me about crystals and what else? Pendulums.
Yeah.
The worlds they're blending together now, and it's not a this or a that anymore. It's not so definitive for people. So it's like, I'm really grateful that I have that understanding, that experience, and that training, so that I can help guide them when those things come up. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
You know,
Yeah.
what's so cool about this is the construction worker, and I hate to be stereotyping, but
I know,
but we
I know.
sort of are doing that, but still, there are some people that you expect they would never go there. It just doesn't seem like they would go there. We don't, you know, a part of me wonders. I have to admit, I was a little. I was sort of chuckling because I had the idea that maybe he was asking the question because he'd been working on a construction site that was building a new building on top of an ancient Indian burial ground, and you know, and some weird things were starting to happen. But you know, here's the thing: as Karen mentioned, in terms of what it is that you bring, one of the things that you bring is this awareness of these sort of techniques and this way of working with past lives and with things like that. But the other thing I think that you bring, that to me at least is much more important, is just your openness to whatever it is might want to present itself in that space. We don't know, do we? And I had the good fortune, at least, to be trained by a teacher who instead would invite you to sort of notice the feelings that you have relative to some issue that's going on, and to attend to those feelings for a minute. And then after a moment of silence, he would say, "And what's the next thing?" You know, and I'm like, oh, I could go in, you know, it was absolutely this wide open opportunity for me to be in my trance and to allow something to present itself, not something to be imposed, but just, and what's there, or and what are you aware of now? If you ever get a long silence in a hypnosis session and people don't answer you or do anything, the best question in the world is, and what are you aware of now? And you can go all kinds of wonderful places. So I love your openness, Suzy. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Where is the intersection between mortal and mystical?
That I believe, that's what I bring to the table. I believe that like we are the intersection, our bodies. The mortal is boots on the ground and the mystical is heart in the stars, and we are that intersection. And that's how I view myself, as that point of intersection where the mystic and the mortal meet, because we are all everything. It's not a this or a that, and whether and it's how I view my clients when they come in, regardless if they have a conscious recognition of it or not. I hold them in that sacred place of mystical and mortal too, because I think we are all of it.
I love that. I mean, we've got to see them successful, or it's not going to work.
Exactly. Right. And teach them to see themselves that way too. Right. How many people have come in? It comes in waves. It's like they come in and they tell me they're broken. It's like, beg to differ. Yeah. So
what is the power of and?
Oh my gosh, right? It lets down all of the barriers. The or is so black and white, and is that space that allows every possibility and potential to exist and to present itself and to be recognized and honored and explored. It's the freedom. It allows freedom too. And embracing that is what gives my clients that ability to explore and release that it has to be this or that, and just to open up, like even metaphorically. And sometimes I have them open up their hands and it's just like, let loose of that for a second and just imagine what would be available if whatever it is that we're doing, what's available out there, and what else is available, and what else is available, and what else might be available. If we opened up even further, I think it just like creates this endless, vast field of potential for the magic to show up, to be revealed.
That's kind of the intersection of hypnosis and improv, because that's borrowing the benefit from improv. Yes, and yes, and yes, and is a great improv tool, or it's a great way to shut down an argument.
The yes and
something and you say yes and you've got the agreement first, and then they go with you to the next place.
I don't agree with that, Karen.
And there are others in the room who do.
Absolutely. So, I'm not quite sure where to go next, because I've got 20 different things that I would love to talk to you about. So tell us a little bit about you went from Harley to hypnosis by way of life coaching. And how did all of these other tools sort of get into your toolbox in terms of past lives and all of that stuff? Where does that come from?
Being, I think, a mystic at heart from the moment my feet hit this earth, always having been curious and open to the possibilities and learning and following my heart and what resonates with it, and being able to explore and accept other things. So that, like, this is what I think is just really powerful about who we are and what we do and where we are in this moment of time, is science is now validating what we have known forever, like thousands of years, right? Science is validating it. So it's the mystical and the mortal being validated now with science. So I bring in elements of science so that I can meet my left brainers. I lovingly refer to them as left brainers. The analytical, like what I'm talking about. And then I have, because they love things to do. So I bring in, the neuroplasticity, and I tell them why we're using that. And then I give them something to do between sessions, because everybody likes something to do without being burdened. So I've always been curious and wanting to learn more and more and more, a perpetual student. And then I know things that feel and sense and ring as true for me. So I have those all kind of in the tool bag too. And that's what's so fun, is knowing and is having not snippets, but representations of different not even modalities, different dimensions that you can pull in and apply, in client sessions. Like it might be somebody who's forgotten that they're, at their core, and they're inherently good. Everybody's inherently good. So I have them write, I like the number 5 for whatever reason. So I have them recognize, open their heart first to the possibility of being able to notice 5 good things that they said about themselves, that they did that was good and nice, or that they demonstrated or thought throughout the day. 5 good things at the end of the day that they got a list. So something like that, just to give them like it's like cracking the door, beginning to turn that limited thinking around. So it's an amalgamation of a couple of decades on the planet, I guess, and being interested and here's that and it dawned on me as you were talking, it's not that there's one definition to hypnosis. It's not that there's one way to do it. It's being open to recognize, how Karen does it, and how Michael does it, and how Sylvia does it, and recognizing the brilliance in all of it, and taking this and that and the other and going, I could spin that and do this. And now I've got the way that I do it. I mean, it's the and that you get to embrace and bring in, and that's what always keeps it fresh and alive. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where that came from.
Can you imagine what music would be like if there was like one right way to do it?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just have a question that's a little bit off track, maybe, and maybe not. But because you do this spiritual work, and some people are more looking for that, and some people are less
Yeah.
looking for that, etc. I'm just curious, Suzy Day, do you have a favorite kind of client to work with?
You know, at the end of the day, I'll say, oh my gosh, I just got to work with my two most favorite clients ever. And then at the end of the next day, it's like, I got to work with my 5 favorite clients ever. I don't know. Everybody crawls into my heart. There's a space for everybody in there. So I don't know that I have a favorite. Generically, my favorite is those who come back the second time for their second session and they go, damn, there really is something to this hypnosis. That's my favorite client right there.
When you do a past life regression and they come in asking for that, is that a one session event or does that parlay into other sessions?
It can parlay into others. They can come in with I've got both spectrums. I've got clients who have come in for a specific issue, like a physical issue that they wondered if it was related to a past life. We went in, we did some exploration, found what initially caused that, an unresolved trauma, and then resolved that in the session. And then the physical challenges in this present life experience diminish. So they're out the door, they're done. But then I've got people who come back every 4 months, every 3 months or so for another exploration to find out, more about, they're looking for themes or nuggets of to enhance and integrate into this present life, because we've all had other experiences. So we're experts in more than just our experience in this lifetime. So let's bring in those benefits and bonuses and expand our experience and enrich our experience in this life. So I've got clients who do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you using those words like expand and enrich and all of that, because the thing to me that really sort of works for me, and that is I do have a favorite kind of client, I will admit, and I get it. I mean, I love them all. You said earlier, everybody is good, and I found that to be true in like almost every case except for about 4 people. Most of them I'm related to. But otherwise, and yet I had a client who came to see me when I was really sort of new in hypnosis, and it was a very different thing, because he sat down in the chair, and I asked him formerly one of my starting questions, which should never have been, it wasn't a good question in the first place. I asked him what seems to be the problem. And in fact, I thought that it was clever because it was what seems to be the problem. And I'm like, I'm going to do some verbal, some linguistic magic. And he said, well, nothing really. And I'm like, oh. So, it wasn't that he came here because he was having problems in his marriage. He wasn't trying to quit smoking. He wasn't trying to do anything. He said, he says, I just sort of had the idea that if I did hypnosis, it would kind of open me up to become available for some further discoveries. I'm like, oh my God. What a wonderful thing. And generative trance is the thing that I just really like, this idea of we don't have to be here to fix something,
Right?
To really enrich a person's life and allow expansion and evolution.
And I'm so blessed because I get to witness that. I mean, when I look at someone in my chair in trance and they're deep in it and all the armor has fallen away and all the stress and all the to-dos and all the ta-das and everything's fallen away. And there before me is the purest form of life. And I wonder, has anyone seen their grace like this before? Is it only me because they are at their purest form? And it's such a blessing. I'm so blessed to be able to pay attention and notice these other lights, these other souls that I'm graced to work with, and get to witness and be blessed by the changes that they experience as they go forth and enrich the world. I mean, we're doing good work and we do good things in the world. And that's what I really love.
That's lovely. Yeah, the idea is that this person's sitting in front of you, and to me, this is what works. I talk about this all the time in classes, but the idea of having a paradigm that just works for you, some way to think about what you're doing. For me, it's that recognition, as you said. You said that everybody is good except for a couple of my relatives, but I mean that person sitting across from me is a miracle
Mhm.
waiting to unfold. Yeah, and it's like the wunderkind and I are going to move into some lovely altered state of consciousness and let something evolve naturally. How privileged we are to not only be able to do that, but and to get paid for doing that. Oh my goodness.
And I'm the smart aleck who said, who needs a coach, right? Who gets paid for that? And then it evolves into this, right? Thank God for that. Thank God for smart ass attitudes.
Thank God for however you got here, right?
Right?
However you got here.
Yeah.
It was supposed to happen. You are where you are supposed to be. The clients who are supposed to be with you find you. You are there for them. Thank God.
Right? Yeah.
And, I have students ask a lot, how do you attract clients or what do you do? Be you. Don't be anybody else. Be authentically you. Put yourself out there authentically, and the people you're supposed to attract come to you. I didn't know that right away. I had to learn that lesson, but
yeah.
Fortunately, in Chicago, we have a wonderful hypnotist, Larry Garrett, who's been around since, I don't know, the 60s, doing hypnosis. He's been around a long time, and he is the most generous soul I've ever met. And I came from a radio background, a very competitive radio background. I was a very competitive animal. And there was Larry, a competing hypnotist, saying, there's no competition. There's no competition. Well, it took a while, but I got it. The people who go, Larry refers people to me, I refer people to Larry because we do different things and we attract different people. And that's what I learned. Larry came from a mostly functional family, which I find rare. I don't see many of those people in my office anyway. And he came from a pretty functional family. And his mother told him what she wanted from him. She wanted and expected him to be the best Larry Garrett he could possibly be every single day. And she really taught him from jump to be himself, to honor himself and be himself. Not compare. And when I learned that lesson, and I learned all I had to do is be the best I could be, and the people would find me, that was freeing. And isn't that what you're doing, Suzy?
Yes, ma'am. After I've learned, it took a while to learn that because I was inundated with you gotta niche down, you gotta do this marketing, you gotta be on Facebook, all this kind of stuff. And I was struggling because it felt so heavy. It felt so heavy, and I didn't know that technical stuff. And quite frankly, I hate that technical stuff. And I was like, what do I want to specialize in? I have no idea. I love this work. I love doing all of it. It's like when people ask us what roads are your favorite of all the roads, we've ridden all over the country, what are your favorite? Well, it's a shorter list to tell you what I never have to do again. Kansas and Nebraska, don't ever have to ride there again. Other than that, the list is too long. So other than what kind of clients do I not want to, I love working with everybody, but I guess if I had to choose what I don't want to do, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I heard it in there. One of the phrase that you used, it was sort of interesting. You were listing things, the technical stuff like Facebook and this and this and this. But as you were saying it, the word that I heard more was you gotta do this and you gotta.
I hated that, right?
You gotta, which doesn't seem like the sort of credo for a motorcycle mama.
And I'm in this world doing stuff I didn't think I was ever going to do. And I wanted people to find me. So I thought the way for people to find me was to specialize in something. And to specialize in something, you had to produce it on Facebook and you had to have blah, 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 blah. And then I realized I'm done with this crap. I realized that people are finding me anyhow. they're finding me. So I'm just turn loose of that other stuff and quit claiming or quit trying to be something other than me.
So
And
forgive me for interrupting that, but how are they finding you? How does that happen?
they're Googling hypnotherapy in Medford or Oregon or where near me. They're Googling and they're finding me that way. I don't think they're not finding me on, I don't think they're finding me on Facebook or whatever, or I don't know. They're just Googling. And I think that settling into just being who I am and doing it my way has been so liberating. And then that's again, like when the doors are blown off the hinges, is like everything gets to flow when you settle into who you are and what you do and recognize your own, for me, recognize my own gifts and my own abilities and my own magic, as opposed to trying to claim one out of all of them, because I got a big bag full of techniques and tools and tricks and what have you. So there's lots for me to draw from, and it's applicable, whether it's anxiety, whether it's past life, whether it's, I don't know what the hell to do with my life as I go forward, it's applicable across the board. So, we're diverse in in occupying the planet. And for me, that's the kind of touch I want to have, that diverse touch of people, and just be able to meet them where they are and give them what they need. So they bounce in, get what they need, bounce out, and be their bigger, bolder, braver.
Nice.
So it's so true.
A lot of hypnotists are asking the question, who do I need to be, or how do I need to present myself, in order to get clients? And I'm like, well, just why not just be your own damn self? And you might be surprised, but let people know that you do hypnosis. So many of us are, and just because you mentioned Facebook, I have to bring this up, and I hope everybody that's listening gets a lesson from this. Don't advertise to other hypnotists. They are not going to be your clients. And so they go out on Facebook and they spend all of their time interacting with other hypnotists in hypnosis groups. And they say, well, I'm online all the time and nobody ever, calls me to make an appointment. But on the other hand, if you participate in a group of people that have some issue that you have in common with, like motorcycles or whatever it is, but be a part of the community.
Yes.
And here's the secret. You don't join the community and then start advertising. What you do is you join the community and you act like an intelligent person. And then people will go, oh gosh, she's kind of interesting. I wonder what. And then the next thing you posted something on the group that you said, I was working with a client the other day, and then they're like, oh, she works with clients. What does she do there? And then people will find their way to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the energy of just natural attraction is so much less work than trying to get out there and be and do something that really is not in alignment with who you are at the core, right? So I second and third and fourth and fifth agree with you in terms of telling your students to be them, right? To just do them.
Yeah. And as you said, people are, these days, back in the olden days, right? When I was a baby hypnotist in 2005, one of the ways that you still did it was you took out a Yellow Pages ad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are the Yellow Pages? Right? What are they? So people Google, and they Google hypnosis near me, or Medford hypnosis, or Chicago hypnosis, or whatever it is. Right. I think that's how people are doing. Most people are doing their searches these days. So having yourself ready, that was another hard lesson to learn. I had the magic, right? As a young hypnotist, took my business card out to smokers and said, I can help you with that. Well, they weren't in the, I want to quit smoking trance. They were in the, I'm smoking now trance. So it was not well received, as you well know. Right? I can help. So it took a couple of times, but I learned. Okay. And so what I realized was I have to have myself ready for when they're in the, I want to quit smoking trance, or I need to make a change trance, or I want to do past life hypnosis, or what is this hypnosis stuff anyway? And they Google it, and then you got to have your website ready, or you got to have your interactions, the way they interact these days, ready. Putting a video of yourself on your website or something like that, whatever you can do. a lotus leaf is going to give a different impression, or a lotus flower, it's going to give a way different impression than a spinning watch or something like that.
Right.
And the beauty of that, by the way,
People will go to the spinning watch. I mean, as weird as I think that might be, people go to the spinning watch because it fits with their belief system. And then
Yes.
people will go to the lotus flower because that fits with their belief system. And so that's where we need to concentrate those marketing efforts, I think.
Mhm.
it helps you
Agreed.
vet your clients, doesn't it?
What?
As opposed to going, you know, I put up a lotus leaf and a whole bunch of people don't come now because they think that that's a little flaky and stuff. I'm like, you know what? Actually, it vets your clients. It does that work for you, and it sorts them out.
And the people who don't come to you are none of your business
Right.
Yeah.
in every sense of the word.
Right.
People who don't choose you are none of your business. Leave it alone. Move on. Work with the ones who do come.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Suzy, you have a Harley Hypnosis and Heart 3-point program. Tell me about that.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's more like a it's like the pillars of my practice and the way that I approach and what the energy that I bring to it. It's not really a program. I haven't gotten as far of, nor do I know if I want to do programs. I'm not sure of that yet. And so the Harley to me represents the presence, you know, that I bring, and no matter if it's loud and cracked open, the throttle's cracked wide open, or if I'm an idol, I can meet anyone in between there. And it also represents the power that I stand in terms of my knowing and certainty of who I am and what I can contribute, and acknowledge my own gifts, so that allows my clients the ability to step into their power as well. So it's a metaphor for providing that presence for possibilities to unfold. And then the heart, of course, is seeing with my heart, hearing with my heart, feeling with my heart, and getting my clients to connect with theirs. Because everybody seems to be so heady these days. They've forgotten how to connect with their heart. And I believe that that's where the solutions are. That's where the guidance is. That's a portal to the spiritual. There's lots of wisdom to be gained by that. So I use the heart I lead from and see through, so that holds space for them as well. And then, you know, hypnosis, it just depends on whatever goodie we're pulling out to accomplish whatever goal it is. So that's how it all kind of plays in. It's the power and the presence and the heart that plays into every single session for me. So those are kind of like my, if I had to break it down, I guess I would call those, those are pillars, values for me. Yeah, the way that I approach everybody.
You've used the word empowered a couple of times, and
Yeah.
I love to empower my clients, but I got to ask, what do you do with the clients who don't want to be empowered? There are people who need to be told what to do. They don't want to do it on their own. That's why they don't
what?
Self-hypnosis. So what do you do with the ones who don't want to be empowered?
They don't come through my door.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I see some of those. I
Don't want to be empowered.
That's another case. I mean, there are people who really just want to be told what to do. They're much better following something than discovering something.
Oh, fascinating. Okay. Yeah. So they want specific directions on what to do.
When I ran a weight loss clinic years ago, I found that men were so much easier than many of the women who came in. Women had emotions and aspects and things. And the men, here's the program. This is what you do. Drink more water this week. Okay. Next week they came back and said, yeah, I drank 2 gallons of water every day. This week, eat more protein. Yeah, I'm eating more protein. Okay. Whatever it is, right? I mean, I didn't give nutritional advice, but give them a set of rules to follow. Not all men, by the way, not generalizing, but there were people who just did better with a set of rules. You know, that's why Weight Watchers changes this program all the time, because some people like to do math and diet at the same time, and some people don't. So next year they bring in a new crowd.
So if I've led you to believe that I don't boss anybody around, I've misled you.
That will tell me about your bossy side. Now, there's the Harley mama I'm looking for.
Right. Everybody leaves with supportive work to do between sessions, right? The flame of change is ignited in my office. It's their job to fan those flames between sessions, and how they do that is whatever homework assignment I've given them, whatever additional process or practice to do, whether it be self-hypnosis, whether it be that gratitude list, whether it be pick up those crayons and that coloring board that you used to use when you were 6 years old and draw that tree that you just shared with me about that came to you when you were in trance. It could be something like that. It could be, one of the neuroplasticity techniques, the pattern interrupts. It could be anything. And then that's the first thing I want to know when they come in the next time. How did it go? What did you, what difference did you notice because you did this, and this, and the other? And then I ask a question and they go one way, and I bring them right back down and tell them that wasn't the question. I'm not afraid to hold their feet to the fire, and the ones that respond to that or are the ones who haven't had their feet held to the fire in the past. And that's, those are the ones, like, they tend to sit up a little bit straighter and pay attention when I tell them to do stuff going forward. So I don't hesitate to tell them, but I've got that gal who's so sweet and gentle and tender. If I bossed her around, it would break her heart. She would cry in my office. Right. So that's where my gifts are, is I can meet them where they are, toe to toe, and I can puff up just as bad and cuss like a sailor and meet them every beat of their heart and talk smack, or I can hold that sweet 40-year-old's heart in my hand as she offloads, from a broken heart or a missed connection with Jesus or whatever it was, right? That's my gift right there, is the ability to go either way.
2 things. One, to all the people who say you can't be a generalist, thank you very much, because there are some people who say you have to niche down. And the second thing is, I've got a confession to make. I am going to be stealing The Flame of Change is Ignited in my office.
I say that all the time.
I'm just letting you know I'm stealing that. So
yeah,
it's like
part of my pre-talk. So when I lay the foundation, it's like, this is how it's going. This is how it's going to look. And here's your job, because I'm not doing your work for you. You got to do the work. I'm not working harder at this than you will. I'll work just as hard, but not harder than. So those are my exact words every single time, sparking the flame of change.
That's great. In terms of the sort of 2 sides of it, the authoritarian that isn't hesitant to tell people what they need to be told, and on the other hand, the side that knows everybody doesn't respond to that, and the openness that you have. It occurs to me that there are a number of nuns who would make very great hypnotists.
They missed their calling.
Yeah, they did. But you said earlier that some people are just really heady and they're not in their heart, and stuff like that. I'm a little curious, just because here we are in 2021 at the end of this pandemic, that I think has really taken a toll on us in a variety of ways. I'm wondering if there's anything that you've seen lately in terms of how COVID has affected the people that you're working with.
They're so far knocked off center. They a lot of them are having a hard time finding their way back. Whatever was disrupted in their life before COVID hit, they said it's been magnified, and it's really, they've been knocked deep in the ditch, and they're having a hard time coming back around. However, I see them lifting their head up a little bit higher above that quicksand or mud or ditch that they're in, so that they're actually reaching out. They're taking action now. They're doing something about it now. They're realizing they're done. They're done, and they're ready for a change. They just don't know what that change looks like yet. But they're discombobulated. It's really just knocked people off center. Whatever their center used to be, is so far distant from where they are now.
Yeah, I'm thinking socially, we've got some serious changes ahead of us that we've been isolated, and while we've been isolated, we've spent probably more time, not everybody, and I'm talking about my community, I guess, but we've spent more time online than we might have before. And online in groups. I started out talking about a hypnosis group and some contentious debate, going back and forth with people, where making a comment is an invitation to challenge.
Oh, yeah.
This has been our social interaction for the last year. Now we're going to step out into the real world where you don't have the safety of being on the other side of a computer monitor, and somebody's going to punch you in the face if you haven't learned how to or remembered how to be civil and to operate in community with other people.
And won't that be interesting to witness?
Yeah. Well, and by the way, just to add to that, because of course, not only was it COVID and the isolation and the online stuff, but in the middle of a highly contentious political year as well.
Yeah.
So, there was all of that stuff going on in like in a pressure cooker for, for the last 12 months. And you don't just get to walk back out into the world and have it be the way that it was before.
Right.
I'm working with a couple now that during the isolation, she was quite happy because he was home a lot and it made her quite happy. He cannot wait to get back out and she doesn't want to go back out. And that's new. They navigated that difference in their personalities before the imposed isolation in an easier way than they're navigating it now. So it's something new that they're having to discover all over again.
Speaking of something new to discover all over again, I would be interested in discovering if all of the people that have been listening for the last while while Suzy and Karen and I have been having a lovely visit, if you've got any questions or any curiosities or things that are bubbling up for you that you'd like to ask Suzy or the room generally, feel free and open up your microphone and let us know what's on your mind. We'd like to hear.
Mind if I toss this out also? We've been talking, Michael started it out with, what do you bring? What is your thing that you bring? And Suzy was beautiful in answering that. I would love to hear if you've thought about it now for about an hour, if you've come up with what is the thing that you bring? What is your special thing? If you've got something like that in mind, open your mic and let us know that too. I didn't mean to interrupt questions. If you got questions, by all means, and I'm looking at Jane Gavoni. She's not opening her microphone, but I know that she has something very special she brings that is a little different than others bring. Are you willing to share, Jane? You got to open your mic though. Oh, there.
I really like people. I really like them. And I think that people can feel that. If you really, really care about them. And I think that I think Karen is probably talking about the fact that I've had some big health challenges. And so I can relate to people. I had a major stroke, both my carotids closed, and I have a rare brain disease. The doctors told me that I've lost a third of my brain and I couldn't live, and if I did, I'd be in a nursing home. And so and there's no treatment for this, so I had to come up with my own. So how that helps me is when I hear someone say to me, well, I couldn't do that, I can't do that, I'll say, if I can do this, you can do that. There is no I can't. It's, do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? I can help you do it, but I won't accept that you can't do it. I'll accept that you've changed your mind and you don't want to do it, but I won't accept that you can't. So I think maybe that's one of the things that I bring to it. It's maybe just the hope that you can do what you feel you want.
What I get in Jane's presence is the Earth Mother, attached to the earth. She is the caring, unconditional, loving Earth Mother. That's the vibe that you give off to me. That's the vibe I pick up from you.
I like people. I really do. And I want them to succeed.
And this is the interesting thing. Those are the nonverbals that we share with clients, right? Those are the nonverbals that just bounce off our bodies. And it's nice if we know what that is.
It is. Yeah. But this was so interesting tonight. I really enjoyed it.
Good. And I didn't mean to interrupt if there were questions or other people who want to share.
I'm going to say something while we're waiting, and anybody interrupt, please, just so we don't have dead air. I know one of the things, as you asked the question, I sort of heard it, and I had asked it earlier. But one of the things, there are a couple, but one of the things that I know that I bring is that I really like having a good time. And in fact, this is my religion, by the way. I think that when you get to heaven, you get to the pearly gates. See, it's kind of mixed. You'll see how it's sort of mixed with other, with other nuances, because you get to the pearly gates and St. Peter asks you if you had a good time. And if you say no, they send you back and make you do it over again. So I'm living so as to have a good time. And what I know is that it's possible, no matter what it is that's going on in your life, this thing about whether you're happy or not, or whether, those are judgments, aren't they? And they're judgments that come from the way it is that you look at your experience. So, so I always kind of know if you're not having a good time, well, then change your mind about that. That is available to everybody. And I think people get the idea, at least when I talk to them, that yeah, maybe they don't have to be so, so miserable or so sad or so whatever it was. And that's what works for me.
Jessica says it's being old fashioned. Tell me what you mean by that, Jessica.
So I've found that after COVID and all this stuff, people are tired of virtual clinic visits, especially in my area, and they're just so happy to sit in an office with another person. So that's why I get them. And I don't do anything on computer. So I have some people that are worried about where their files go. And I had the unfortunate thing of a therapist sharing my files at one point. So I'm very adamant and very open with them that this is paper. It gets locked in a file and it's locked behind 2 doors and no one has the key but me. And they love that. They're like, oh my gosh, it's not on a computer. I don't have to sign anything on a computer. And they just love it. So
there you go.
And the point of all of this is to show that while we're all way different, right? There's enough business for everybody. There is enough business still for everybody. And yes, Jessica, I see what you're saying. Some people, I'm not taking clients in my office yet, but I've had 2 people call and inquire. And I said, I'm still working on Zoom. They're happy to do it on Zoom, but they would like to come into the office as soon as it opens up.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen sooner or later. Jane?
I teach happiness classes. I have happiness camp, and people come and we have fun. And I put up my new one, and 24 hours it was filled. I mean, it wasn't even 24 hours. People just want to have joy again. And, Michael, the Dalai Lama says that's all we're here for is joy. So you're in good company.
Great. Right.
Well, this has been fascinating. Suzy, do you have some final words for us? We want to know especially how to get in touch with you, but before you tell us that, any final passing words that you want to wisdom?
Well, looking back, my mom would spank my butt because I didn't say thank you at the very onset of this. So I want to extend my good manners now, kind of the back door, and say thank you for inviting me and thank you for letting me play in this lovely arena of lovely spirits. It's been a slice of heaven for me. Yeah, this was a fantastic experience, and I hope everyone gained it at some point. I don't know how to share my stuff unless you want me to put it in the chat box or something.
Well, is there a website or an email address for you?
Oh yeah, Suzy at Daylight Awakenings. Yes. Yep. That's how to get in touch.
SUZY, by the way.
Correct.
Z is in zebra.
Yes, and let me write on the coattails of you guys giving the Hypno Expo the big plug at the beginning. Is I'm doing a workshop on Saturday on robust receiving, talking about, because people don't generally, we've been taught how to give, right? We've been taught how to give, and we haven't been taught how to turn our hands over, palms up, and receive. So I'm giving a lecture on that on Saturday. So I'd love for anyone who is available to come and participate and, enjoy the stellar experience that the Hypno Expo is. It really is. It's fantastic. So that would be my parting words.
There you go. And the expo, by the way, really is absolutely fantastic. Just like I said, a week from now. A week from now is the day that I start, but it will be next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next week, and the pre and post before and after it. So if y'all haven't registered yet, go to iact.org or imdha.com and get signed up, because it's going
Or it's even easier if you go to hypnoexpo.com.
hypnoexpo.com. There you go.
Keep it easy.
All right. Well, then, with all of that said, let's see. I remind you, I've got my NLP class coming up. If you want to know about it, let me know. FL Hypno, Florida Hypnosis at outlook.com. You can remember it's outlook.com because look at what a wonderful outlook I have. FL Hypno at outlook.com. Very easy. And I'll get back to you about that. Well, Expo's coming up, and those are the announcements. Lori Hammond next month with the imposter syndrome. That's going to be a great one.
Fun.
And, well, it's just been a real pleasure having you with us, Suzy. And
Thank you so much.
I'll tell you what
Thank
what we want to do now is, as is our tradition.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to ask everybody to please open up your microphones all at the same time, so that in one great cacophonous spirit of love, we can let Suzy know how much we appreciate her being here with us tonight. So there we go. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Suzy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James, so good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Everybody.
Thank
Good
you. Good night.